Joshua 4:23 is a continuation of the answer that Joshua gives to the question that he posed in verse 21. So 21 was the question, when your children ask their fathers in times to come, what do these stones mean? Verse 22 says, then you shall let your children know Israel passed over this Jordan on dry ground. Now verse 23 here, for the Lord your God dried up the waters. So the Lord your God did this. I didn't do it, so don't remember me necessarily. Just remember that the Lord your God dried up the waters of the Jordan for you, until you passed over. That is what the Lord your God did for you. He dried up the waters of the Jordan for you until you passed over. So this is a very specific testimony that they have. My son, I remember when I was a boy, when I was a young adult, that when the Lord dried up the waters for me and your mother and I and our family, for us to pass over, this is what God had done for them, as the Lord your God did to the Red Sea 40 years before this, which he dried up for us until we passed over. So now we have us, Joshua and Caleb, the children in this area who have survived the wilderness. But what we see in Joshua chapter 4, verse 23, for the Lord your God dried up the waters of the Jordan for you until you passed over, as the Lord your God did to the Red Sea, which he dried up for us, different audience here, until we passed over. And so what we see here is that God is working in each and every generation. He works in this generation and he works in that former generation. Every generation God is working. Every generation God is doing something miraculous. God is always working, never stops working. He never completely sets a generation aside. He obviously judged Israel's generation to wander the wilderness, but he was still with them. He was still faithful. He was still working miracles and being exactly who he is. He is faithful as always to his people. No matter whether we are faithful or faithless, regardless of how we respond to God, God always remains faithful, and he is always working in every single generation. And he does things a little bit differently. In the generation before, he parted the Red Sea, literally two giant walls of water. Pharaoh and all of Egypt is chasing them, and Pharaoh dies whenever all the water just collapses on them. Boom. Well, now it's the Jordan River. It goes all the way back to Adam, and then they have all of this to pass over, over 15 miles to pass over on dry ground for all of Israel to pass over into the promised land that God is leading them into. And so God is working differently in every generation, but he is working in every generation. And this is a testimony that they can pass on to their children, their children's children, on for all future generations. When your kids see this monument and they ask, what do those stones mean? You will give them this answer. The Lord your God dried up the waters of the Jordan for you until you passed over, as the Lord your God did to the Red Sea, which he dried up for us until we passed over. Our answers should always go back to the Lord Almighty. We should be training our kids always to go back to the Lord our God, that he is faithful, that he is good, that he is powerful and mighty, that he is the God of the heavens and the earth. Joshua 4:23.